Hi, I'm Kenan. I have been a math teacher and private tutor for nearly 20 years, and I've been receiving lots of questions from my students and their parents about the differences between the classic and the new digital SAT. So I've stopped tutoring and making YouTube videos for a weekend to research the differences and try to explain everything once and for all. Because I am a math tutor, I will stay in my lane and focus primarily on math. I'm going to cover what's gone, what's less frequent, what's new, what's more common, and what stayed the same. And lastly, what changed. Let's start with what's gone. Bubble sheets. It's a digital test. The no calculator section. You can use a calculator the entire time now, and there's even a calculator built into the test. 14 math problems have been removed. There's now 44 instead of 58. 10 minutes of math have been removed. And now there are two 35-minute sections instead of a 25 and 55-minute section. There are 38 fewer language arts questions, down from 92 to 54. 36 minutes have been removed from the reading and writing section. It used to be 100 minutes. Now it's just two 32-minute sections. The 5-minute break between the math sections is gone. Since you don't need to get out your calculator, you just keep going. It all adds up to nearly 1 hour that's been removed. The mysterious fifth section is gone. It was never mentioned on the SAT website, yet everyone always got stuck doing it on test day. The new test is only 2 hours and 15 minutes, whereas the old test was officially 3 hours. But there was that bogus fifth section that took 25 minutes, and it ended up being more like 4 hours for my students. One thing that I do miss is the ability to interact with the test. I like to circle numbers and underline keywords, but that's not possible anymore on the math section. But you can still bring your own scratch paper and pencil. Multi-part questions are history. No more having to flip back and forth to try to figure out a problem. It's all there contained within one problem. Math word problems are now more concise, which means they're not deliberately filled with nonsense anymore. After doing all the practice tests, the improved clarity was very apparent to me. When I researched it, I found that the SAT even mentions that this was intentional. One math topic is gone. Imaginary numbers. Imagine that. It seemed like several other topics had been removed, but eventually I found an example of each. Now, let's look at what's less common. Repetition. Let me say that again. Repetition. With fewer questions, they can't afford to repeat topics multiple times. Most skills appear only once, if at all. So you'll find yourself preparing for about 80 topics, but only getting asked 44 questions. Line problems and graphs previously dominated this test. Now they appear far less often. Statistics questions like mean, median, range, margin of error, and standard deviation are far less frequent. I never found a question about sampling errors or spotting bias. Who needs to spot bias these days anyway? Now, let me share with you what's been added. You will always have a calculator. There's a Desmos calculator built right into the app. You can bring your own calculator too. The ability to mark questions for review has been added as well, and a summary that allows you to see what questions still need answers or are marked for review, and the ability to quickly jump to those questions that need review. They've also added a timer inside the app so you can keep track of how much time is left or how much time you're spending on a particular problem. I strongly recommend that when you get to the harder problems, you write down the time that you started the problem on your scratch paper so that if after 2 minutes you still don't have an answer, maybe you should move to something else. Now you can have negative answers on the short answer questions. Before, the answers were always positive. It's adaptive. Please watch my separate video that explains what adaptive means. Now, let's look at what's more common. Big numbers. The test used to only have numbers up to about 20, but now there's numbers in the hundreds and thousands. I guess it is a college entrance test after all. An actual hard question or two that can take several minutes to solve has been added. After tutoring students for this test for almost 10 straight years, I could solve nearly every SAT question in 3 steps or less. But now, a couple of the new practice problems were quite difficult. Not many, but a couple. Please watch my series where I solve the hardest problems I found. If you're going for a perfect score on the second module, you may want to start with the last few questions because you don't want to be all stressed out looking at the timer when you're trying to solve the hardest problems. Of course, only spend 2 minutes on any question. There's much more geometry. Although generally it's very simple and it is still only about 1/8 of the questions. I solved some of the hardest geometry problems in the 2 videos that I've linked in the description, or you can click up there. Many graphs include what are called translations, so it's harder to put them into Desmos. You can watch my video on translation problems by clicking up here. The discriminant appeared on every practice test. Most students don't have a clue what the discriminant is. I solve a discriminant problem in this video. Please watch my separate video to take a deep dive into the differences between the math content changes that I observed. That's available here. Now, let's cover what's the same. Scoring. It's still a 1,600-point test. The topics are nearly identical, but there are fewer questions and less repetition, and fewer sample problems to review for the practice tests. You can bring a drink and a snack for the 10-minute break between the language arts and math, just like before. Okay, there's one topic left in our video, but before we take that deep dive into what's changed, please take a second to like this video. And because I'm creating lots of somewhat funny videos that carefully explain SAT problems, strategies, skills, and concepts, please subscribe to my channel so I can help you improve your SAT score. And of course, don't forget to share with your friends. Lastly, let's look at what's changed. Sections are now called modules. Newsflash, it's digital. You need to bring a laptop or an iPad. If you don't have your own device, you must make arrangements with the College Board in advance. You might try borrowing a friend or family member's computer instead of getting one from the College Board. That will allow you to practice with it and make sure that you feel comfortable. rather than relying on some sketchy device you've never seen before. You definitely should practice using the Bluebook app from the College Board. Install it right now by visiting bluebook.app.collegeboard.org, which I've also linked in the description. Please let me give you a little dad advice. Log into the Bluebook app right now. Once you've logged into the Bluebook app once, you should be good forever. But you have to be prepared for the worst. So make sure you write down your login information on your admission ticket. You will be able to print your admission ticket from inside the Bluebook app about 5 days before the test. Make sure you update the Bluebook app the day before the test as well. And make sure you're still logged in correctly. Make sure you charge your laptop before the test and bring a charging cable to the test. The Bluebook app lets you mark questions for review and quickly see what questions you still need to answer. One nice improvement is that scores should be available much more quickly now. And because there are multiple versions of the test, the kid sitting next to you is probably doing a slightly different test, which means that cheating becomes next to impossible. And because there's no exam book, no one can steal the exam book, which used to cause some tests to get invalidated. Now that you have a calculator at all times, all math topics appear on either module. Previously, unit conversion, percents, probability, statistics almost exclusively appeared only on the fourth section, but not anymore. Short answer questions have been mixed throughout the test and not reserved for just the end of the test. It is believed that the experimental questions that used to appear in the mysterious, infamous Section 5 are now included throughout the test rather than being in the separate section. This means that there's a possibility you may miss a question and that question won't be included in your score. So if you miss a question or two on test day, stay positive and tell yourself that maybe that's one of the questions that won't be in your score and try not to let it bother you. There is a 5-minute warning inside the app. Make sure you have an answer for every question at the 5-minute mark because that's your final warning and the test will just close when time runs out.